Welcome.
Hello again.
Yeah, here we are. Here we are. And welcome to our podcast of Behind the Scenes with Santa and Mrs. Claus. And this morning, we're really going to go behind the scenes. In fact,
All the way back to the beginning of,
yes,
Mrs. Claus and myself,
yes,
Mary and
when
Joe.
when we first met, because we've had a couple of people asking us how we met.
Yeah, we've had some people email us and
Yeah,
go, what's the story with you two? And so we'll give you the story.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a fun one.
Well, it is.
It kind of touches on our Irish roots of our generations before and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm one step removed from Ireland with my father, and then my grandfather actually came from Ireland.
And my grandmother came from Ireland.
Yes, so we're both, kind of like not too far away from our Irish roots.
That's right.
But anyway, so yeah, it goes a ways back now because we've been together now 27 years.
27 years. So, so ever so long ago.
Yes.
Joe.
27 years ago to be exact.
Joe worked for a company.
Yes, in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was the general manager of that company in that division. So, and Mary was actually in Southern California.
Yes.
And the company hadn't opened an office there yet, but we're talking about it. And they approached me to run the office. Well,
in Southern California.
In Southern California, yes. Moved from Phoenix and go into Southern California.
Yeah.
So, and Mary was like one of our few employees, maybe our only.
I think I was the first.
Yeah, you were. You were the first.
Hired.
Anyway, so we started talking on the phone because we had to find an office, we had to set up furniture and all types of things.
The whole thing, yeah.
And and Mary was my only, I could go back and forth to Southern California, but I couldn't stay there for periods of time because I had clients in Phoenix.
Right.
So, but before that, we actually met. We were talking on the phone for sometimes quite a long time, setting up phone things and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I finally said, okay, I'm coming out. February 10th. I'm going to arrive there. Well, guess who met me at the Orange County John Wayne Airport?
That's right.
In Southern California.
Yeah.
And what did you hold?
Well, actually, we had obviously talked on the phone numerous times, but this was way before any kind of, photo kind of thing. So I didn't know what he looked like. He didn't know what I looked like. So I held up a little sign that had Joe Moore on it, and I had a little elf with a pot of gold and a
leprechauns.
Or a leprechaun.
Leprechauns with a pot of gold.
That's
She's
right.
holding this thing, and I'm going, obviously that's Mary. So we went to breakfast, and we ordered the exact same breakfast, and we got to talking some more, know. And I was able to spend a couple days in Southern California trying to get all of this thing set up. But anyway, so Mary was my chauffeur. She drove me everywhere in Southern California.
That's right.
And as we learned, we had an awful lot in common.
Well, I think first, before we get into all that, because, it was in the very beginning, of course, we both had to work closely to set up this brand new office. He then had to hire people to run the office, and we really became just really good friends.
Yeah.
Just very.
Our friendship was instant. I mean, it really
very
was.
Good friends, yeah. So.
Of course, the leprechaun sign didn't hurt.
No. In fact, it was kind of funny. We had a favorite spot in Huntington Beach we
Yes.
used to go to,
Yes.
and it was an Irish bar called
Yes.
Gallagher's.
Yes.
And we would go there, fairly often after work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, everybody around us,
Saw that we were getting beyond close,
yeah, except
us.
yeah,
We didn't have a clue.
yeah,
So, but eventually. But what I want to talk about is how we found out. I mean, her mother's maiden name
yes,
is Moore,
yes,
same as mine.
yes,
We both came to California the same year. Her
Yes.
from upstate New York, me from Chicago.
that's correct.
We both drove a 1974 Ford Maverick.
Yes.
Hers was yellow, mine was red.
Yeah.
Big surprise. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
and I mean, and everything we talked about. Oh, and the most important, she was born at St. Joseph's Hospital in
Syracuse, New York.
Syracuse, New York.
Uh-huh.
I was born at St. Mary's Hospital,
Yeah.
Truth, in Chicago, Illinois.
Yes.
So we're from right at the beginning. We were both Joseph and Mary, so.
Yeah, and then my son, his name was Scott Michael,
Mm-hmm.
and his younger son,
Was Scott Ryan. So we both
Yeah.
named our sons Scott.
Scott.
I mean,
And then after we got married, and I got to say a couple of things there. First of all, I had been single for a very long time, for about 23, 24 years, I guess.
that's how old your son was,
Not, I had no plans really on getting married. But once we realized we were falling in love, and Joe popped the question, and I said, yep, I'll marry you, and we had a wonderful, beautiful fairy tale wedding
Yes, we
in
did.
Newport Beach.
Yes, we did. At the
And-
Marriott, yeah.
Yes,
Overlooking the ocean.
yeah,
It
and
was
then
absolutely gorgeous. We had all our friends from our work
yes, we had all
that-
our friends
that
and
came up
and
from Houston and Seattle and
all over the place.
San Francisco. I
Yeah,
mean, you came from
yeah.
everywhere.
And then when we we had moved from where I had was originally living when Joe met me, and we had a house together. I was unpacking my china, and Joe said, he kind of said it in a kind of curious way. He said, "That's Grandma's china." I said, "Yeah." I said, "If you don't care for it," I said, "we certainly don't have to use it." And you
I said, no. It's my grandma's china.
Yeah.
Our grandmothers had the exact same
China
china
pattern.
pattern for our formal china.
Yeah, and I mean,
So, which, I mean, you're talking about something that was fired in 1953 or something like that.
yeah, it's a 1950s pattern.
Which we still have, by the way,
Yes, yes, we
in
do.
all its glory.
Yeah.
And it's funny, she came with two sets, so it was like
Yeah.
my grandmother's and her grandmother's.
That's right.
And then,
That's
of
right.
course, we were using her grandmother's table, so we would set it on Grandma Moore's dining room table.
Yes, that's true. I had inherited that. Yeah.
So just a lot of weird things that all pointed to the fact that we were meant to be together, and we still are.
Yeah.
We've been married now over 25 years.
Yes.
So,
Yes. So
actually,
talk about. I mean, the stars didn't align for a long time.
for either one of us.
It was funny because we were both living in California. I stayed mainly in Southern California. He hopped around more in the middle part of California. We went to a lot of the same places. We probably even may have bumped into each other. We don't know.
I'm convinced that we both went to the same bar outside of LAX.
Proud Bird.
The Proud Bird.
The Proud
Because
Bird.
I
yeah.
used to go there
Mhm.
with another coworker from a former job.
Yeah, yeah.
And we used to go there for drinks, and I used to love to watch the planes and stuff. And she was going there with her business
Yes,
associates.
yes, yes,
So,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
again, it was like one of these things, we were just doing this,
yeah.
but.
We just never contacted, and so yeah, I mean, talk, it just, and really that is all true. It almost
Mhm.
sounds like, well, it can't be true, but it really is.
It really is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we can prove it. We got the birth certificates and everything to go along with it. So, and, I mean,
And of course, it's funny, I guess they don't ask that as much now, but when you set up a bank account, they
mother's
in my
maiden
name, they said, what is your mother's last name? And
Maiden
I'd
name.
say maiden
Mother's
name.
maiden name.
Yeah, and I'd say Moore, and they'd say, no, ma'am. No,
What is
your
your
mother. What's your mother's?
maiden name?
And I'd
Not
say-
your married name.
Yeah, I'd say,
So,
well, it's Moore.
yeah.
Got some strange looks on that one.
Mhm. And again, it's interesting that both our relatives came over about the same time.
Uh-huh.
Settled in different areas. You're
Yes.
settled in
Upstate New York,
upstate
in
New York,
Syracuse.
and
Yeah.
basically was one of the founding families up there. Not
No, that
founding
was
family.
that was on my father's side.
On your father's side.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that was
But
different,
anyway,
yeah.
but you were up there, and
Yeah.
I was in Chicago, and we
Yeah.
never would have
No.
thought to meet. So
No. So yeah, so
that's kind of how we met again. That we talked about how we did everything. Again, we were with this same company, and
Yes.
and basically the company was growing,
yeah.
and I mean, she had joined it. In fact, she was even thinking of leaving when I arrived. She was tired of being the only employee there, and so I had to convince her to stay with me and to see this thing through. So,
Yeah.
but it's funny. I mean, before we even really were dating or doing anything, which, again, as she said, everybody else saw him and go, they're an item, and we kept going, no. And when they'd say something, that we'd go,
Yeah, so
get out. No, we're just friends.
Yeah, where'd you get that idea?
But it's funny, we were shopping for furniture together. We were doing utilities and together.
Well,
we
everything that
were
an
looking for
office required.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we phone system, utilities.
And then I had to hire
and then you
more,
had it, yes, 'cause
more
we-
people
once
in
we
your
got the-
position.
Yeah, because once we got the office set up, then we obviously needed to.
So
staff
she'd
it, so.
screen them, and then I'd finalize
Yeah.
them, and then we'd either pass or take them on. But yeah, I mean, we were doing everything together. We were like inseparable. And then it's kind of funny. I mean, before again we were really seriously dating, I'd come over to her house because I was alone in Southern California by myself. I was living, in one of those homes where they rent out a room until I could find a better place to live. But I'd come over to her house and I'd make dinner for her and her son and her son's friend.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I'll never forget the first time I went to her house, and I rang the doorbell, and all of a sudden I'm hearing, and she opens the door. She's got not one, not two, but 3 Rottweilers, and one of them is the size of a pony. Okay, and that was Cody. He was 80 pounds, 180 pounds.
Yeah.
And stood, almost up to my chest. And I'm like, oh God, I'm not going in. But, it turns out, she was only boarding one of them. So the other 2 kind of let me in, and we became friends, mostly. So, but anyway, it was just a lot of fun and interesting
I mean, we
things.
had a good time, and again, this was many, many years. Well, I shouldn't say many, many years, but probably about 4 or 5 years, I think, before he wanted to be Santa Claus. So this was still early, and obviously at that time, neither one of us had any idea or thoughts
No.
on doing that.
Didn't
So
have a hat, didn't have
yeah,
no,
so
nothing.
that's how
That's
we
kind of
met.
the story of how we met and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
we came together.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's been a heck of a ride. And what's really interesting too is before we met, she had lived in how many states? Like six.
I think so, something like that.
And I
Yeah.
had lived in seven different states.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we first moved to California in like 1974.
Mhm. That's correct. Yeah.
And then I went off, she went off, she moved to Seattle, then she moved to Houston, then she moved, and
Yeah.
I went back to Illinois, I went to Phoenix, I went to, several other states, and I mean, it's amazing that we ever crossed paths.
Yeah.
And when we did, it seemed to be just the right time.
Yeah, it's obviously fate intervened because we
Hmm.
were we were just like this. We just never had the paths crossed. So
Yeah.
anyway,
So that's enough on.
yeah,
So that's the basics. I mean, if you have any other questions, we'll be happy to answer them on that. But that you pretty
yeah,
much got the overview. So
yeah. Now we wanted to tell you a little bit about a series we thought we'd do
yes,
starting on our next
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
and it's going to be about Santa Claus, but there's going to be different elements to it. We're going to start out with kind of what it's if you want to bring your child to see Santa Claus. We're going to talk about
The
the
best
mall
way to
Santa.
do that.
If you want to hire a Santa, we want to give you some insight and thoughts about that.
And the best way to do
And
that.
the best way to do that. And then we're going to follow it up. We're going to do some episodes where Santa's going to be in different costumes to explain what it really takes to be Santa
And the
Claus.
different looks of Santa Claus,
Mhm.
and also how much can Santa really make? Yeah, I'm
Yes.
sure
Yeah.
there's a lot of numbers floating out there, and people think we're doing everything from just shy of Bill Gates to all the way down to
Yeah.
you don't make anything.
A lot
And
of
the
misconceptions.
truth is always in somewhere in the
Yeah,
middle.
in the middle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we're gonna
Not
do
quite
it.
as much as Bill Gates. Though.
No.
Haven't
But-
found that one.
But we thought this would be fun for you to really get, if you will, behind the scenes of,
Yes.
because it's not just the outfit itself. There's all the elements that go with it. The
Accoutrements, as you call them.
yes, that we put with things. So
Things like little hat pins and
Yeah,
stuff that
yeah.
and buttons and different things you probably haven't even thought about. But why Santas do cost more than $50 an hour to hire,
Yes,
because there's a
yes.
lot of cost to us involved. So
that's right.
and we're
that's
going to
right.
touch on that and what it would take
Huh?
for a new person to
Yeah.
become a Santa Claus, and approximately how would you get where all the different outfits and what the costs are behind them.
Yes,
and all the
absolutely.
different things. So this could be a fun series, and we hope you guys will join us for this. And of course, if you have any questions or
just gonna say.
burning desire of how do you do this, or what about that, or when did you
Put it in the comment,
Yeah.
because again,
did you get it all at once, or did
Yeah.
you
and we'll try and address, the
each
questions
and every question
as
yeah.
we go. So
Mhm.
yeah, feel free to, and of course, as we always said, we love your comments.
You
so.
know what? I'll bet you when we get to the part about what it takes to become a Santa Claus, we might do that as a live video
Well, that
and
yeah,
have people ask us questions as we're
that's
discussing that.
that's a possibility
So,
too.
give us a thought on that if you'd
Yeah.
like to see that live, or would you rather just watch it at your leisure on a podcast?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, well, I think we've covered that pretty well.
Yes. So thank you for joining us.
Again.
Yes. And again, make sure that you tune in after this one on the 24th,
Yep.
which that episode's going to appear.
Yeah.
And
We'll start
we
that.
always
Mhm.
have our links to our stores and such. So
Which, yes, please, if you want to support us, please go to our Etsy stores. The links are below. And, and of course, subscribe. We
Yes.
love,
Yes, please subscribe.
things have kind of slowed down on subscriptions. We need more subscribers,
Yeah.
and please recommend it to your friends
Yes.
and stuff.
Spread
If
the word.
you enjoy this, I'll bet you they would too.
Yes.
So, so help us out a little bit. Buy something from our store. Get some friends to subscribe, and of course, make sure you're subscribed yourself.
Yes.
And we'll be happy to answer any questions or thoughts or things you'd like to know about. So thanks
well, thank
for
you
joining
for joining us, and we'll see
As
you
always.
next time.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.